Okay, today let's practice dividing binomials. And again, we're looking at terms that will not have addition or subtraction in them. You'll have, if we're dividing, we're going to have one variable over another variable. So the first thing we're going to do here is look at this rule. When dividing terms with like bases, subtract the exponents. Keep the base the same. So if I have x to the fifth divided by x to the third, I'm going to subtract those exponents because here I have 5 factors of x in the numerator and 3 factors of x in the denominator. And if you notice, if you used your canceling like you would when you simplify a fraction, there are only 2 factors left. So this equals x to the second. So the shortcut is to follow this rule that when you're dividing with like bases, to go ahead and subtract the exponents. So instead, you could do 5 minus 3 equals x squared, which is the same answer we got here. So when dividing like bases, subtract the exponents. Now, we're dividing monomials, so you're not always going to have only variables. Sometimes you're going to have coefficients to those variables. So let's take look at an example. Let's call this our example 1. So let's say we have 4x to the third over 5 x to the second. Now, 4 and 5 are coefficients. And you look at those coefficients just like you normally would to see if they could be reduced at all. In this case, 4 and 5 cannot be reduced, so it'll just stay 4/5. But then on the variables, you'll notice that they have the same base, so then you'll use your exponent rule and subtract 3 minus 2. So x to the first, or just x. So the final answer here is 4x over 5. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Example 2. Okay, this time let's throw in some negatives, and let's have negative 4a to the fifth b divided by 16 a to the third b. Okay, so again, we're going to break this up. We'll look at just the coefficients. Let's follow the regular simplification rules of fractions if those variables were not there. So negative 4/16. Okay, negative 4/16 is going to reduce. So you can divide those both by 4. So that equals negative 1 over 4. So that's the first part of the answer, negative 1/4. Then we look at the a's. The a's are the same base, so you subtract the exponents. 5 minus 3. Now, because there are more factors of a in the numerator, since there are more factors of a in the numerator, we're going to keep a in the numerator when we write it over here. So 5 minus 3 is 2. Now, if you have variables with the exact same exponents, in this case it's 1, they're going to cancel because that's like having the same number there, like 2 over 2 equals 1. Well, b over b equals 1. So this is your final answer, negative 1, a squared over 4. And if you wanted to write it without the 1, that's okay too. You could use the identity property. So negative a squared over 4. Okay, next example. Example 3. Okay, let's say we have 5x squared y, and it's to the third power, over 15xy. If this happens, and we notice that there is some type of operation by taking this to a power that can be done first, we want to simplify the numerator and the denominator as much as possible, and then simplify the fraction. So power of a power rule here, and we'd have 5 to the third, x squared to the third, and y to the third. Every one of those factors gets taken to that power. The bottom's still the same. Okay, so then 5 to the third, that's 125. And 3 times 2 is 6. And 1 times 3 is 3. So in the denominator, we have 15xy. All right, now is when we start to look to see if we can reduce this at all. So how does this reduce? Well, 125 and 5 are both divisible by 5. Okay, so if I take 125 and divide it by 5, I would get the number 25. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. So now I'm ready to use my exponent rules, and if there's not an exponent, it's a 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5, and their factors will all be in the numerator. And then y to the first, 3 minus 1 would be y squared. So my final answer is 25, x to the fifth, y to the second, divided by 3. Okay, so just to recap this problem, we're going to take care of the exponent here, and you need to simplify the numerator and the denominator first. So here we have 5 to the third, x squared cubed, y to the first cubed. Simplify that. 5 to the third power is 125. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. So the power of a power, you multiply those powers together. And then we're going to simplify the monomials here. 125 divided by 15 reduces to 25 thirds. And then subtract exponents. 6 minus 1 is 5, and 3 minus 1 is 2. All right, keep working on this lesson.